Lula had won 2 consecutive elections to govern Brazil from 2003 to 2010. At the close of his second term, Lula had an approval rating of 86%, the highest in the history of Brazil. His poverty reduction programs, particularly his hunger alleviation schemes, earned his government praise from around the world. Income redistribution through social programs such as Bolsa Familia, Brasil Sem Miséria, the expansion of credit, the increase in decent work, and the increase in the minimum wage lifted almost 30 million out of 209 million Brazilians out of poverty. Brazil paid off its debts to the IMF, and the government discovered a massive new oil reserve in the Santos Basin, off the coast of Sao Paulo. This oil could eventually change Brazil's strategic position in the world. Judge Sergio Moro brought a case of corruption against Lula in April 2015. Curitiba's public prosecutor's office, led by Deltan Dallagnol, was in charge of an investigation around corruption allegations at Brazil's state energy firm, Petrobras. Because a car wash became part of the money laundering investigation, the task force was known as Lava Jato, car wash. The task force uncovered activity by contractors such as OAS and Odebrecht, who had, it turns out, remodeled an apartment on the coast and a farm in the interior that was supposedly owned by Lula. These firms, it was said by the task force, had gained concessions from Petrobras. Lula, the task force argued, benefited from the contractors who in turn benefited from state largesse. This was the allegation. The prosecutors could not prove that Lula had ever owned the apartment and the farm. Nor could they prove any benefit to the contractors. Lula was convicted, bizarrely, of unspecified acts. A former OAS director, Leo Pinheiro, who had been convicted of money laundering and corruption in 2014 and was to serve 16 years, gave evidence against Lula. For this evidence, his sentence was reduced. There was no material evidence against Lula. The Lava Jato investigation was a major advantage for transnational firms. The harassment of the Brazilian airplane construction firm Embraer by the Justice Department forced it to be sold to Boeing. Petrobras, a major jewel in a national development strategy, had to sell 75% of its petroleum reserves to BP, British Shell, Chevron, CNOOC, ExxonMobil, QPI, and Statoil. The Amazon was open for business, its resources to be mined and sold to the profit of transnational firms. Lula could not run for the presidency. The removal of Lula from a presidential election that he would have won handily is an instance of lawfare, the use of the law to conduct a political coup against the forces of the left. In 2017, U.S. Department of Justice officials visited Judge Moro as he built his case against Lula. U.S. Assistant Attorney General Kenneth Blanco said that the U.S. justice officials had informal communications about the removal of Lula from the Brazilian presidential election of 2018. On the 6th of March 2019, the U.S. Department of Justice said that it would transfer 80% of the fines it received from Petrobras to the Public Prosecutor's Office to set up an anti-corruption investment fund. It is fair to say that this is a payment to the Lava Jato team for its work in removing Lula from the presidential race. In 2014, President Dilma Rousseff had mandated that 100% of the oil royalties go to the sectors of public health and education. Now they are essentially a bribe to the right-wing jurists who prevented a Lula re-election. Moro, the master of lawfare, joined the cabinet of the winner of that election, Jair Bolsonaro. The persecution of Lula is a story that is not merely about Lula, nor solely about Brazil. This is a test case for the way oligarchies and imperialism have sought to use the shell of democracy to undermine the democratic aspirations of the people. It is the methodology of democracy without democracy, a Potemkin village of liberalism.